The galaxy was vast and cold. Stars burned in silence, and planets drifted like lonely stones. Ancient alien civilizations ruled many systems. Their fleets were massive. Their weapons could tear worlds apart. Entire planets trembled at their power. Life outside their control was weak, fragile, and brief. Among these civilizations, the Zytherians were feared above all. Their ships moved like shadows, faster than light. Their cities spanned the surface of gas giants. They harvested planets for energy and enslaved weaker species. Their leaders thought nothing could stop them. Their empires were endless, or so they believed. On a small, unremarkable world at the edge of the Zytherian sector, Commander Virus watched the horizon. Smoke curled from burning cities below. The planet was collapsing. His people were dying. Satellites fell from orbit. Energy storms tore through the skies. Virus had never seen such destruction. It was not the work of enemy fleets. It was something else, something beyond his understanding. Panic spread through the Zytherian ranks. Virus's mind raced. He had been trained for war, for conquest, for strategy, but never for this. Every plan failed. Every defense crumbled. He watched his soldiers fight, but even their weapons could not stop the devastation. Cities that had stood for centuries were gone in hours. The screams of civilians echoed in his mind, haunting him. Loss burned deep inside him, sharper than any weapon. The aliens called it the silent wave. No one knew where it came from. It destroyed worlds in its path, leaving nothing but ash and ruins. Some said it was a weapon of a forgotten enemy. Others whispered it was nature itself turning against the galaxy. Virus could only watch as his empire fell apart piece by piece. Betrayal and chaos spread. Some leaders abandoned their posts. Some fled in fear. Virus felt alone, trapped in a storm he could not fight. Among the chaos, he noticed reports of humans. Small colonies on scattered planets. Weak, fragile, almost invisible. The aliens had ignored them for centuries. They were unarmed, insignificant, hardly worth noting. Some Zytherians laughed at their tiny settlements. They called humans irrelevant. Virus, tired and fearful, barely paid attention. Yet, in the back of his mind, a tiny thought lingered. Humans, he realized, were still alive. They were still there, surviving in the shadow of the galaxy's great powers. Virus watched a signal from one of the human colonies. It was tiny, almost unnoticeable. A distress call. He frowned. Why did this fragile species persist? Why did they refuse to die like so many others? He did not understand. The Zytherians did not understand. Yet something about their survival felt wrong. Strange. Dangerous. The silent wave moved closer. Virus's home world trembled. Cities that had seemed permanent crumbled in hours. Families vanished. History itself was erased. Fear gripped the heart of the galaxy. Commanders who had once boasted of invincibility now hid in bunkers. Even the strongest ships could not hold back the disaster. And then, the humans appeared again in reports. Small, weak, scattered, but alive. They moved quietly, avoiding the silent wave, finding ways to survive where others perished. The Zytherians mocked them. How could such fragile creatures matter in the face of total destruction? Virus looked at the signals again. Something in him changed. He could not name it. A whisper of unease. A sense that the humans, so small and weak, might play a role in what was coming. He ignored it, but it would not leave his mind. As the silent wave reached the edge of his world, Virus felt despair like never before. The sky cracked with fire. Cities fell. The cries of millions echoed across the planet. And yet, far below, on a tiny human colony, lights flickered in the darkness. Someone was still alive. Virus did not know it yet. But this insignificant species, the humans, were about to change everything. And then the planet shook violently. Something was coming through the storm. Something neither he nor his armies had ever seen. A shadow crossed the sky. And it was not from any human ship. The galaxy had no idea what it was about to witness. The galaxy was still reeling from the silent wave. Worlds burned, fleets vanished, and alien empires trembled. Commander Virus struggled to comprehend the disaster. No strategy, no weapon, no technology had slowed it. And yet, reports kept appearing, tiny dots of life, stubbornly clinging to existence. Humans. The Zytherians still dismissed them. Weak, fragile, barely worth a thought. They lived on small, harsh planets at the edges of the galaxy. Their ships were tiny. Their weapons crude. No alien considered them a threat. Virus felt the same. And yet, something about them drew his attention. Humans survived where others died. Harsh storms, poisoned atmospheres, failing technology, nothing could wipe them out. Colonies rebuilt themselves over and over. Small fleets reassembled after attacks that would have erased stronger civilizations. Humans adapted. They learned quickly. They endured pain that would break any alien mind. Virus watched reports from one human colony on a barren, storm-ravaged world. The planet's surface was torn apart by the silent wave. Cities lay in ruin. Communication lines destroyed. Supplies gone. Entire fleets crushed. Yet humans were still alive. They scavenged broken ships. They rebuilt shelters with burned materials. They saved the weak and injured, refusing to abandon them. Something in human behavior shocked Virus. Unlike the Zytherians, humans did not fight only for victory or power. They fought for survival, yes, but also for each other. They cried for those they lost, then rose again, stronger. Pain did not destroy them, it sharpened them. Fear did not paralyze them, it made them clever. Even death was not final. They faced it without surrender. Other alien species mocked this stubbornness. They called it foolish. They said humans would die like the rest. But Virus could not stop noticing the pattern. Small attacks, daring rescues, improbable escapes, humans kept surviving against odds that should have killed them. One report stood out. A human fleet had been trapped in the gravity well of a collapsing star. Their ships were outdated, unarmed, unable to escape the star's pull. Every alien commander watching expected total destruction. Yet the humans survived. They rigged failing engines with whatever they could find. They used ingenuity, courage, and sheer will to escape death. The star swallowed thousands of alien vessels before a single human ship vanished. Virus frowned. It was impossible. How could such a weak species endure what the silent wave, alien fleets, and cosmic disasters had done to stronger civilizations? He began noticing another trait: humans were unpredictable. They did not act logically, not in the alien sense. Their decisions were guided by emotion, stubbornness, and creativity. It made them dangerous. They could survive situations no one else could even imagine. Reports continued to arrive from scattered human colonies. Each story was similar: a destroyed settlement, a lost fleet, the survivors, against all odds, still alive, still moving forward, still helping each other. Virus felt unease in his chest. For the first time, he wondered if dismissing humans had been a mistake. Could such fragile, insignificant beings really endure what no empire could? Could they survive the silent wave? Could they even shape the events to come? He shook his head. It did not matter, he told himself. Humans were small, weak, irrelevant. And yet, the feeling lingered. A quiet, nagging warning at the back of his mind. Something about humans had changed. Something about their survival was different. The galaxy had not seen their true power. Not yet. But Virus could sense it. The tiny, fragile humans were preparing for something greater than anyone realized. And somewhere, deep in space, the humans were already moving. The alien fleets would not see it coming. The silent wave was still spreading. Destruction was everywhere. And humans, tiny and weak, were quietly beginning their rise. The galaxy had no idea what was about to happen. The silent wave moved through the galaxy like a predator with no mercy. Entire star systems vanished in hours. Worlds that had stood for centuries were reduced to ash. Alien fleets scrambled to respond, but nothing worked. Technology, numbers, strategy, none of it mattered. Death came faster than anyone could fight back. The humans were next. Their colonies were small, scattered, and fragile. The Zytherians still ignored them, certain they would vanish without a trace. But reports began to trickle in: human outposts were attacked, and yet they did not fall. On a barren mining world, a human settlement faced the first wave of destruction. The sky burned red with firestorms. The ground shook as energy weapons tore through structures. Families ran for shelter. Supplies were gone. Ships were trapped in orbit, powerless against the approaching threat. The aliens expected humans to surrender. They thought humans would panic and die. But the humans did not. They fought. Not with advanced technology, not with massive fleets, but with ingenuity, stubbornness, and sheer will. They dug shelters from rubble, repaired broken machines with scrap, and used the environment itself to fight back. Small human crews ventured into deadly zones to rescue the injured. Children were carried through collapsing buildings. Starships with failing engines were pushed beyond limits, using improvised solutions to escape imminent destruction. Every human lost left a scar, a wound that should have broken their spirit, but it did not. Each loss made them more determined. Pain was their power. Fear was their fuel. Commander Virus watched from his distant command station. The humans were insignificant. Tiny fleets, primitive defenses, weak colonies. Nothing should have survived the silent wave, yet humans persisted. They adapted to every attack, learned from every mistake, and refused to surrender. The galaxy began to notice. Reports of human resilience spread quietly at first. Aliens laughed. Weak creatures, barely armed, surviving against cosmic destruction? It was impossible. It was foolish. Yet the humans kept moving. The survivors scavenged debris, repaired broken ships, and even managed to save alien civilians stranded on destroyed worlds. Compassion, cunning, and courage all in one small species. But the silent wave was relentless. A larger, more terrifying threat loomed. Cosmic storms tore through systems, planets exploded, and rogue alien fleets exploited the chaos. For the first time, humans faced the possibility of total annihilation. Their colonies were cut off. Communications failed. Supplies ran out. Ships were trapped in collapsing orbits. And still, humans did not surrender. A small fleet of human ships, barely armed and battered from prior attacks, intercepted a rogue alien strike team. They had no chance. The aliens expected an easy victory, a simple slaughter. Instead, humans outmaneuvered them. They used debris as cover, trapped enemy ships in gravity wells, and exploited the aliens' overconfidence. One by one, they turned the fight into survival, then into victory. Commander Virus saw the reports and could not believe his eyes. Small, fragile, insignificant humans were surviving where entire fleets of Zytherians had fallen. They were learning, adapting, and overcoming every challenge. Each victory was tiny, but each one carried the weight of defiance. Humans were suffering. Losses were immense. Colonies destroyed. Friends and families gone. Yet their spirit burned brighter than any weapon. Pain did not break them, it forged them into something stronger. Something dangerous. And then came the first shocking discovery: the humans were not just surviving, they were preparing. Signals showed coordinated movements between distant colonies. Improvised fleets gathering. Strange, experimental weapons being tested. It was not chaos. It was planning. Virus frowned. The Zytherians had dismissed them for centuries. Weak, small, insignificant. Yet now, these humans, these fragile survivors, were learning to fight the unstoppable. Something in their stubbornness, their refusal to die, was changing the game. And deep in the void, the silent wave advanced, carrying death across the stars. Humans were standing in its path. And they were ready to fight. The galaxy held its breath. And somewhere, in the shadows of a destroyed star system, the humans found something. Something that could change everything. A discovery that would make the galaxy rethink the meaning of survival, power, and fear. The galaxy had begun to whisper about humans, but most alien leaders still laughed. Weak. Fragile. Insignificant. Nothing more than ants in the shadow of the Zytherian fleets. Commander Virus, despite his fear and loss, could not deny the reports. Humans survived against the impossible. They adapted faster than anyone expected. But no one truly understood why. Across the stars, human colonies were battered but not broken. They scavenged wreckage, repaired ships with scraps, and rebuilt settlements that had been reduced to rubble. Their technology was crude compared to alien fleets, but their strategy was cunning. Humans used unpredictability as a weapon. The more the aliens tried to anticipate them, the more humans surprised them. On a distant mining world, a small human fleet faced an advanced Zytherian war squadron. The aliens expected an easy kill. Their weapons were precise, their numbers overwhelming. Yet humans turned debris fields into traps, using gravity wells and collapsing satellites to scatter the enemy. Ships that should have been destroyed escaped by impossible margins. The Zytherians were shocked. It was impossible to predict human moves. Virus studied the reports. Humans were clever, yes, but something else caught his attention: their emotional strength. Where the aliens relied on logic and cold calculation, humans fought for more than victory. They fought for each other. They mourned loss, yet never stopped moving forward. Every defeat fueled their stubbornness. Every failure made them more dangerous. Pain was their teacher, suffering their weapon. The silent wave continued to advance, erasing worlds and fleets without mercy. Yet humans continued to survive. They scavenged alien debris, repurposed weapons, and experimented with strategies that no one else could imagine. Other alien species mocked them, calling their resistance futile. They said humans would die like all the rest. But every time they predicted the humans' end, the humans proved them wrong. A shocking report arrived. A group of human engineers had salvaged a derelict alien ship from a destroyed fleet. They had no instructions, no manuals, yet they repaired it, modified its systems, and made it operational. The ship, once useless, now flew with renewed purpose, stronger in some ways than the originals. Aliens watching this were stunned. How could a species so small and weak achieve this? Virus frowned. He could feel it in his bones. Humans were not just surviving. They were learning. They were changing the game. Their resilience was unlike anything the galaxy had seen. Every setback was turned into a lesson, every loss into strength. And yet, humans did not seek revenge. They did not slaughter alien survivors when they could. Instead, they saved civilians stranded on destroyed worlds, repaired equipment for allies, and risked their lives to protect the weak. Compassion in the face of death. Courage in the shadow of annihilation. The aliens could not comprehend it. They expected fear, surrender, chaos. Humans delivered hope. Virus began to feel unease growing into fear. The Zytherians had dismissed humans for centuries. Weak. Irrelevant. But now, these fragile survivors, these ants, were showing signs of dominance. Not through numbers, not through raw power, but through cunning, endurance, and stubborn defiance. A new report arrived, and it made Virus's heart skip a beat. Humans had discovered something hidden in the ruins of a destroyed alien station. A device, ancient and mysterious, buried for centuries. Its purpose unknown, but powerful. Virus stared at the signal feed. The humans were about to use it. They did not yet understand its full potential, but they were preparing. Their small, fragile hands could change the balance of the galaxy. The aliens laughed, but it was nervous laughter. And then the humans acted. The galaxy held its breath as a faint signal flickered across the void. Something was moving, something that could not be stopped with lasers, fleets, or strategy. And the silent wave advanced, carrying death closer to the human worlds. But the humans were ready. And for the first time, the aliens began to feel fear. The galaxy trembled. The silent wave devoured star systems, leaving nothing behind. Alien fleets fled in panic. Worlds that had survived for eons vanished in a heartbeat. Commander Virus had never seen fear so raw, so widespread. And yet, humans were no longer merely surviving, they were fighting back. The mysterious device they had discovered in the ruins of the destroyed alien station had become the cornerstone of their plan. It was powerful, ancient, and dangerous. No one knew exactly what it could do, but humans were clever, stubborn, and fearless. They risked everything to harness it. Where others would hesitate, humans acted. Where others would surrender, humans pressed forward. A fleet of human ships, battered and small, moved into the heart of the silent wave. The aliens predicted annihilation. They expected humans to be erased like every other species. But humans did not flee. They coordinated like a single mind, adapting to every obstacle. Ships dodged energy storms, navigated collapsing star systems, and struck at weak points in the wave's chaotic path. Every move was precise, every risk calculated, every human determined not to die without a fight. Commander Virus watched reports with disbelief. Humans were improvising, creating traps from debris, repurposing alien technology, and striking with daring no one could anticipate. They risked lives to save others, using courage as a weapon, emotion as strategy. The silent wave was not just being resisted, it was being manipulated. On the front line, human engineers activated the ancient device. The energy it released was unlike anything in the galaxy. It warped space, disrupted the wave, and sent ripples across alien fleets. Ships that should have been destroyed survived. Weapons misfired. Systems shut down. Aliens who had laughed at humanity's weakness now scrambled to respond. Humans pressed the advantage. Small, fragile, insignificant, they became unstoppable. They adapted to the chaos, turned the wave against its own path, and saved not only themselves but alien civilians stranded in the destruction. Compassion and courage combined with cunning and fearlessness created something no alien army had ever seen. Virus could not hide his awe. Humans were no longer ants in the galaxy. They were a force. The more the silent wave raged, the more humans exploited its power. They anticipated patterns no one else could see. They endured loss after loss, yet refused to surrender. Every death only strengthened their resolve. Pain had made them powerful. Fear had made them clever. And then came the final push. Humans risked everything in a coordinated strike, guiding the silent wave away from vulnerable colonies and into the heart of the alien fleets that had mocked them for centuries. Entire armadas of advanced warships were crippled, scattered, or destroyed, not by technology alone, but by humans who refused to die. The galaxy watched in shock. Small human ships, some damaged and barely functional, moved through the chaos with precision, courage, and unyielding determination. No alien could predict their moves. No machine could match their adaptability. Humans had turned fear into power, weakness into strength, and suffering into triumph. For the first time, the silent wave faltered. Its path was disrupted. Worlds were saved. The humans had not only survived, they had dominated, bending cosmic forces to their will without surrender. Virus felt it in his chest, the first true taste of fear. Not for his species, not for his fleets, but for the humans. The small, insignificant species he had once ignored had become something unstoppable. Something dangerous. Something the galaxy could no longer dismiss. And in the aftermath of the strike, the humans did not celebrate. They tended to the injured, salvaged what they could, and continued moving forward. Their victory was not just survival, it was mercy. Compassion. Humanity. But the galaxy was changing. Alien empires who had laughed at humans now whispered warnings. The small, weak, fragile humans were no longer to be underestimated. And somewhere, deep in space, another shadow moved, watching the humans triumph. The galaxy's true test was far from over. The galaxy was quiet, but the silence was heavy. Worlds that had trembled in fear now whispered the name of humanity. Aliens once certain of their dominance stared in disbelief at the small, fragile species that had survived the impossible. Commander Virus watched the reports with a mix of awe and dread. Humans were no longer insignificant. They were a force the galaxy could not ignore. The silent wave had been halted. Entire alien fleets had been scattered. Systems that were once doomed now stood intact. The humans had not only survived, they had saved countless lives, alien and human alike. Their courage, ingenuity, and refusal to surrender had rewritten the rules of the galaxy. Alien leaders convened in emergency councils. How could such a tiny, weak species accomplish what the greatest empires could not? How had humans turned fear into power, suffering into triumph? Discussions turned to fear, and fear turned to respect. Humans were no longer a curiosity, they were a threat, a beacon of resilience, and an example of true strength. Humans, meanwhile, continued their work quietly. They rebuilt colonies. They salvaged technology. They cared for survivors. They did not seek glory or revenge. Their power was in their survival, in their ability to endure, adapt, and rise. Compassion and mercy became their signature. Aliens noticed this, and some began to wonder if humanity's strength lay not just in courage, but in empathy. On a distant frontier, Commander Virus reflected on the human fleets. They were small, scattered, and battered. Yet every ship was alive. Every crew member had faced death and refused to yield. The humans had shown that emotional strength could surpass technology, that pain could forge power stronger than any weapon. Their stubbornness, their refusal to surrender, had reshaped the galaxy. News spread of a human mission to a newly discovered system. A fleet of fragile, unarmed ships moved into the unknown, carrying supplies, rescuing the stranded, and mapping new worlds. Other civilizations watched in awe. If humans could do this with minimal resources, what could they achieve with full strength? The whispers grew into warnings. Alien commanders began altering strategies, no longer attacking human colonies carelessly. Diplomats approached human settlements for alliances. Fear and respect were intertwined. The galaxy had learned a new truth: humans were unpredictable, unstoppable, and uncompromising. And yet, humans themselves did not boast. They moved with quiet confidence, prepared for the next challenge, ready to face the unknown. They had suffered, endured, and fought. They had lost, adapted, and survived. And now, they stood as a testament to the idea that no matter how weak or insignificant a species may seem, courage, stubbornness, and unity could make them invincible. In the shadows of a distant star system, something watched. A presence older than most civilizations, unseen and mysterious, observed humanity's rise. It had waited through centuries, studying the galaxy's empires, its wars, and its survivors. And now, humans had caught its attention. The galaxy had seen humanity's mercy. It had witnessed their power, their cunning, and their resilience. But the universe still held secrets. Darker threats, greater challenges, and unknown forces lingered in the void. Virus looked at the reports one last time. Humans had changed everything. Their survival had inspired hope, struck fear, and forced the galaxy to reckon with the impossible. The small, fragile species had become a symbol, a reminder that the universe could not predict, control, or destroy true courage. And somewhere in the infinite blackness of space, another shadow stirred, waiting for the humans' next move. The galaxy had learned a lesson that would never be forgotten: humans never surrender. And the story was far from over.